a lesson in keeping up with what is going on, and so I allowed this to get started late. We probably do not have any time for Q&A up here. However, I do encourage mingling with one another, and Diana, I'm sure, will be available to talk because she loves to do that. So anytime, just approach her and say, "Hi, I have a question." And I'm going to hand it to Sky now.
All right, before you go anywhere, we have a special treat I want to share in front of everybody here. We have this opportunity of Diane and I being in the same place, and each year the Fellowship for Intentional Community honors somebody with a Lifetime Achievement Award in community building, and this year, well, for 2018, Diane and Leafe Christian is the official recipient, so I'm pleased and honored to be able to present this. So to say a little bit about what Diana's accomplishments are, I have a citation from our awards committee here. Diana's Dance with Community began as a young adult when her experience living in shared households piqued her interest in intentional communities. In 1991, she co-founded the Growing Community newsletter, the first of many works focused on starting communities. 2 years later, she was chosen by the FIC to be the editor of Communities magazine. Over her 14-year tenure, Diana became known for her writing and editing about community living, for leading workshops on starting communities, and for networking during community visits and events. Diana published her first book, Creating a Life Together, in 2003, which has become one of the most widely cited and recommended titles for people starting communities. Diana's strong commitment to community outreach was significantly reinforced by her joining Earth Haven in 2002, where she has been active in that community's development, as we just heard. As a well-established eco-village, Earth Haven's mission includes being a model and inspiration for others aspiring to build or establish community with a strong ecological component. In 2007, Diana released her second book, Finding Community. In this book, Diana draws on her personal experience as well as those she's interviewed. Finding Community has served a dual purpose, both as a core resource for people seeking a home in community, as well as for those already in community who want their home to be more inviting. Diana is a widely traveled public speaker, workshop leader, and consultant, specializing in eco-villages, community living, and its challenges and approaches to governance and decision-making, especially sociocracy. She will love you if you ask her about sociocracy. Her work is remarkable for its scope and depth. Her curious, yearning mind raises questions that often reveal subtleties and interesting ideas. Of particular value is Diana's willingness to directly address the difficult questions involving the business of community, such as cost, legalities, and zoning. While less in the spotlight, these foundational issues must be addressed for communities to sustain themselves. And Diana's work has helped many face these challenges successfully. As an active networker, she is in regular contact with intentional community organizers across the spectrum of those living and working in community. In addition to her deep connections with the FIC, she is actively engaged with regional, national, and international community networks, such as the Northwest Intentional Communities Association, the Co-Housing Association of the U.S., and the Global Eco-Village Network. She regularly attends, presents, and participates in gatherings, meetings, and events focused on community living, like this one. The FIC celebrates Diana Christian's many contributions and her personal commitment to her mission in the world, which is, in the words of her website, to help intentional communities of every kind get started successfully and function effectively and harmoniously.
Yeah! Oh my God, this is wonderful. This is a bronze.
Hold the mic.
Mike. This is a bronze engraving of hands all going around.
Oh, yay.
Which is wonderful. So here's my thank you to the FIC. I live in community, I live in paradise. If you saw the place, you'd see that it's paradise. If you see our current economic situation and our current attitudes, you'd see it's paradise. And how I get to live there with wonderful neighbors and friends, with beautiful forests in the mountains, is because the community exists in the community's movement, without which it would not exist, nor would the people who founded it know there was such a thing to do. The communities movement in the U.S. is largely held up by the beautiful, intensively multifunctional organization, the FIC, Fellowship for Intentional Community. What would we do without the FIC? Communities magazine, which I personally love, the Communities Directory, which is the best thing that ever happened to the communities movement in the US, I think, and all the other services that the FIC provides. One of the founders of the FIC is a hero of mine, Jeff Kozeny. Let me tell you about him. He had a white van. In his van was his guitar, every construction and building tool known to man or beast, and Jeff. He started the Community Catalyst Project with some family inheritance money that he used to then travel around the country for maybe 25 years, visiting communities. He knows more, he knew more about communities than any human being on the planet since Hippocrates or since Pythagoras or anybody that started a community in ancient Greece, I think. Okay, so that's Jeff. He was a lovely man. He was quiet, he was an introvert. He had browny hair and blonde, brown eyes and blonde hair, which a lot of people with a Hungarian last name do. And he was shy, but when he spoke, he was very wise and very kind. He helped communities that he went to. He'd pull up, he'd say hi, and they go, "Oh, it's Jeff, come on in." He could sleep in his van so he didn't put population pressure on their guest rooms. He could cook them a meal, facilitate a meeting, mediate a conflict, go into their building projects with his tools and help them build things. And that's Jeff. And that's who this award is named after. I'm feeling a little emotional because Jeff is such a good guy. Jeff died kind of quickly of pancreatic cancer some years ago, and the FIC very wisely and kindly made this award. It's such an honor for me to get this award named after Jeff. So I want you to help me do something. Would you help me do something?
Yes.
I want you to help me shout into the air, "Thank you, Jeff." Thank you, Jeff! I hope you heard that. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Diana. Thanks, everyone. So it's 11 o'clock right now, which is the official time to start time of the workshop block that's happening right now. So